Video script. Can Donald Trump stop World War III? Channel. The global conflict estimated duration 12 to 15 minutes, midnight to 1:30. Introduction. The world on fire. Visuals. Montage of chaotic scenes. Ukraine war footage. Gaza airstrikes. Tensions in Taiwan. Followed by a clip or photo of Donald Trump looking serious. Narrator. The world is teetering on the edge. From the trenches of Eastern Europe to the burning streets of the Middle East, the drums of war are beating louder than they have in decades. We are witnessing a breakdown of the global order, and amidst this chaos, one question is echoing in the halls of power from Washington to Moscow. Can one man stop the countdown to World War III? Visuals. Trump at a rally, raising his fist or pointing at the crowd. Headline regarding Trump's claim to end the war. Narrator. Donald Trump has made a bold promise. He claims that if he returns to the White House, he can settle the Russia-Ukraine war in 24 hours. He insists that under his watch, the Middle East would never have exploded. But are these just the empty boasts of a politician on the campaign trail? Or does Donald Trump actually possess a strategy or perhaps a leverage that the current administration lacks? Visuals. Show map of the world with conflict zones highlighted in red. Then show the channel logo, the global conflict. Narrator. Today, on the global conflict, we are going beyond the headlines. We are analyzing the geopolitical reality. What is Trump's plan? How would Putin, Zelensky, Xi Jinping, and the leaders of Iran react to a second Trump presidency? And most importantly, would his return bring peace, or would it push us faster toward the unthinkable? Welcome back. Let's dive into the reality of a Trump world order. 1:30 to 4 o'clock. Segment 1. The America First Doctrine versus Globalism. Visuals. Footage of Biden shaking hands with NATO leaders versus Trump looking skeptical at NATO meetings. Images of US dollars being shipped as aid. Narrator. To understand if Trump can stop World War III, we first have to understand his philosophy. Unlike most modern American presidents, Trump is not an interventionist. He is a transactionalist. He views foreign policy not through the lens of moral obligation or democracy, but through the lens of a business deal. For decades, the United States has acted as the world's policeman. When a conflict starts, the U.S. sends money, weapons, and sometimes troops. The Biden administration follows the traditional doctrine: support democracies and contain authoritarian regimes, no matter the cost. Visuals. Charts showing U.S. debt and military spending. Narrator. Trump flips the script. His America First policy suggests that the U.S. should not be funding wars that do not directly benefit the American economy. He has repeatedly criticized NATO members for not paying their fair share. This approach terrifies America's allies in Europe, but oddly enough, it creates a specific kind of respect, or perhaps fear, among America's adversaries. The argument is simple. If the U.S. pulls back, does chaos ensue? Or does it force other nations to come to the negotiating table because they can no longer rely on unlimited American funding? 4 to 7:30. Segment 2. The Russia-Ukraine equation. Visuals. Split screen of Putin and Zelensky. Footage of destroyed tanks in Ukraine. Narrator. Let's talk about the biggest flashpoint, Russia and Ukraine. This is where Trump has made his most controversial claim, that he would end this war in 24 hours. But how? Military analysts believe Trump's strategy would be ruthless. It involves leverage. Currently, Ukraine survives largely on American weapons and financial aid. Without this lifeline, Kiev falls within weeks. Visuals. Map of Ukraine showing occupied territories in the east. Narrator. Here is a likely scenario under Trump. He calls Volodymyr Zelensky and Vladimir Putin. To Zelensky, he says, make a deal or the money stops. To Putin, he says, make a deal, or we will give Ukraine weapons we haven't even invented yet. Critics argue this would force Ukraine to give up territory, essentially handing Putin a victory. But supporters argue it stops the bleeding. It stops the risk of a nuclear escalation. Trump has a personal relationship with Putin that Biden does not. While the West calls Putin a war criminal, Trump calls him smart. Visuals. Video of nuclear missile silos or tests. Tense music. Narrator. The fear is real. If the war continues, NATO could be dragged into direct combat with Russia. That is the start of World War III. Trump's willingness to talk to dictators, which is often criticized by the media, might be the only off-ramp left. But there is a danger here too. If Putin senses weakness, if he feels Trump doesn't care about Europe, will he stop at Ukraine? Or will he look next at Poland or the Baltics? 7:30 to 10:30 Segment 3. The Middle East powder keg visuals. Maps of Israel, Gaza, Lebanon, and Iran. Footage of Iron Dome intercepting missiles. Narrator. Moving to the Middle East. The region is on fire. Israel is fighting on multiple fronts, and behind it all looms the shadow of Iran. Under the Biden administration, the strategy has been containment and de-escalation, urging Israel to show restraint. Trump's approach during his first term was radically different. He walked away from the Iran nuclear deal. He ordered the assassination of Iran's top general, Qasem Soleimani. And yet, he also brokered the Abraham Accords, historic peace deals between Israel and Arab nations. Visuals. Footage of the signing of the Abraham Accords. Then footage of Iranian military parades. Narrator. Would Iran fear Trump? Many analysts say yes. The madman theory applies here. In geopolitics, if your enemy thinks you are unpredictable and willing to use overwhelming force, they are less likely to provoke you. Iran knew the red lines during the Trump era. Today, those red lines seem blurred. However, Trump is also a strong supporter of Israel. If he returns, the restraints on Israel's military might be removed completely. He might give Netanyahu the green light to finish the job, regardless of humanitarian concerns. This could end the conflict quickly through overwhelming force, or it could trigger a massive regional war involving Turkey, Egypt, and proxies across the region. 10:30 to 1300 hours, Segment 4. The China Challenge visuals. Xi Jinping walking. Chinese Navy ships in the Taiwan Strait. U.S. aircraft carriers. Narrator. But the real long-term threat for World War III isn't Russia or Iran. It is China. And specifically, the fate of Taiwan, that Xi Jinping has ordered his military to be ready to take Taiwan by 2027. How does Trump handle this? This is where it gets complicated. Trump is an economic warrior. He started a trade war with China, imposing massive tariffs. He views China as a competitor, not necessarily an enemy to be destroyed militarily. Visuals, graphics showing trade war and tariffs. Narrator. Trump has recently signaled that Taiwan took our chip business and should pay for its own defense. This statement sent shockwaves through Taipei. If China believes that Trump will not send American sons and daughters to die for an island in the Pacific, an invasion becomes much more likely. However, Trump is also obsessed with American strength. He cannot afford to look weak. Losing Taiwan would be a catastrophic blow to American prestige. The unpredictability factor returns. Would he defend Taiwan? Xi Jinping doesn't know for sure. And that uncertainty is often what keeps the peace. 13 to 1500 hours, conclusion. The double-edged sword visuals. Slow motion shots of Trump, Biden, Putin, and Xi Jinping. A ticking clock graphic. Narrator. So, can Donald Trump stop World War III? The answer is not a simple yes or no. It depends on what you define as stopping the war. Stopping the war means freezing the lines, cutting deals with dictators, and forcing allies to concede land for peace. Then yes, Trump is perhaps the only person willing to do that. He prioritizes stability over morality. He prioritizes the American economy over global democracy. Visuals, cinematic drone shots of a peaceful city versus a destroyed city. Narrator. But there is a risk. Isolationism can invite aggression. If the world's dictators believe the US has left the building, they might decide the time is right to redraw the maps of the world, that we are living in dangerous times. The outcome of the next US election will likely determine the fate of Ukraine, the Middle East, and perhaps the future of human civilization. Visuals. The global conflict logo on screen. Narrator. What do you think? Is Trump's unpredictable strength what the world needs? Or is his isolationism a recipe for global disaster? Let us know in the comments below that if you want to understand the wars of tomorrow, today, make sure to subscribe to the Global Conflict and hit the bell icon. We will be watching visuals, end screen with subscribe button and next video recommendation.